You're going to want to pay extremely close attention. The rules are changing, and if you don't know this information, you're more likely to be on the losing side than the winning side. I'm really excited about this. Dean Graziosi, Mike Filsain, Katrina Ruth, Ryan Dice, the one and only Russell Brunson, Sonia Riccati. We have Molly here, Todd Brown, Rowan Fraser, Mike Diller, Jeff Walker, Neil Patel, Dennis Hughes. And I think that there's a high risk of mass extinction of internet businesses.
Millions of businesses, big and small, closed, pushing us into the worst global recession in history.
The writing is on the wall because things are changing, things are happening.
Change in the industry that's forcing people to evolve and adapt or basically die.
You need to see this to understand it. Something like that will happen. You can write it in blood.
If there was a tactic or strategy that you were most excited about, what would it be?
We can go as deep as you want.
I call this content sprouting.
These strategies work for any social media platform.
If you believe it's a good idea, you should stick with that.
When your business becomes part of someone's identity, that's when they stick.
This is really crazy. I don't know if I ever shared this with you. Waste the least amount of money to find that winner. That's how you win for $1 a day.
Now, I have people that are on my list for 2 years that are still opening the emails.
To get this many amazing people in a room, just amazing.
We're about to take you behind the scenes.
I love what you're doing here. This is amazing.
If you want to know what's happening in the future, tune in now.
Hello. Welcome to another live stream. My name is Rich Sheffrin. Glad to have you all here. And as I do this, I'll make sure that I am putting on this so that I can make sure that we are all good to go. And so let me just mute the system effect and the system audio. And maybe for now. So welcome. So my name is Rich Sheffrin, and I do these live streams every Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesdays from 2 to 4 p.m. and Thursdays from 6 to 8 p.m. Both of those times are Eastern. And so today, I thought it'd be a great idea to just open it up for questions, because so many of the times I come with a plan of what it is that I'd like to kind of talk about. And the questions kind of take me in all these different places. And I thought, why not today just have a live stream totally dedicated to your questions? So by all means, please say hello. Tell me where you are at today as we do our very first live stream, I believe, of 2021. I don't think I've done one yet. And let me know where you are. And also, as a separate comment, if you have a question, by all means, put it in the comments, and I will do my very best to answer that question for you and remove that difficulty, remove that obstacle, that challenge, and get you on your path. And I've been thinking a lot about that in general for myself. As we enter in the new year, I've been doing a lot of thinking and also trying to each day improve my game. And so we can certainly spend some time talking about that if you guys have questions about that. And as always, let's make this as much of a dialogue as opposed to a monologue. It makes it a lot more valuable for you guys, as well as enjoyable for me. And also, please comment as frequently as you can, emote, and most definitely, if you can share it. If you could share this stream, that would be greatly appreciated. The more that you share or give thumbs up or comment, the better it is for us. It helps us get that message out and help more people and get more people on these live streams. And the more people on, the more questions, the more benefit everyone gets. So let's see who's with us today. And, yeah, I'll share. I got a lot to share. Like I definitely have noticed some things about myself. I don't know if it will translate to you guys, but I believe it will. As as we talk about how to really be at the top of your game for look, I just got a text. Which reminds me, maybe I should go into do not disturb mode. So I will put that in at least for the next hour. And if Julian happens to be watching, Happy New Year to you too. So, Kayvon, good to see you, my friend in Vancouver, and Lisa in Miami Beach, and Jason tuning in from Tampa, and Isabella from Germany. I see that you're getting a lot more active in social media, Isabella, certainly on Instagram and stuff. I hope that's going well for you, and I hope there's this strategic plan in place for that. Maybe you'll have a question, and if so, I hope to answer it. Good to see you, Lewis, and I wish you a happy and successful 2021 as well. I can tell you that I am super excited about it. Spent about an hour and a half this morning going over stuff with Matt, and it looks like things are looking pretty good for us. And just super excited about finally having gotten our business back from Agora and all of the unwinding of at least the merchant accounts and all of that kind of stuff, that we can finally kind of take it by the reins and really grow it now. So I'm super stoked about that. Hello, Renan from Brazil. Good to see you, my friend. And I actually have a close friend of mine who is in Brazil right now. His name is Josh. And he's, if you saw any of my live streams from Miami, that was his apartment. And now he's down in Brazil for a few months, which is kind of cool, kind of jealous. Hey, Christy. Always good to see you here, and glad that you are. And Elia, good to see you from Greece. I don't recognize you, so maybe this is the first time. If so, happy to have you here. And hopefully, if you have a question, I'll be able to answer it for you. Moreno, good to see you, my friend. I hope that you have a great 2021 as well. Matteo from Italy. Hey, Matteo, I actually have a video that I need to record today for our Italian licensees, and that is the website is strategicprofits.it if you want to check them out. Darren, how do I pronounce that? Darren. Well, I appreciate you too, and thanks for the love from Munich. And Jane Adler up in northern Florida, unless you're back in DC. Are you back in DC yet, Jane? And Velio from Miami. Hope you had a great New Year as well. Christine, good to see you. Let me get my, I gained in Vermont. Vermont's the place to be, not during wintertime, but definitely during summertime. I gained 17 pounds in 2 weeks. Obviously, a lot is water weight during the Christmas break. Got started to go on a fast on late Sunday night. So I guess, or wait, no, sorry, early Sunday morning. Like probably the last time I ate was like about 3 a.m. on Sunday morning. So I'm on day 3, I guess, because Sunday was 1, Monday 2. Yeah, so I'm on day 3 of my fast to try and reset my body so that it doesn't think that those 2 weeks of ridiculous debauchery are continuing. And dropped like 8 pounds my first day, obviously water, but it's amazing how the body can adjust so quickly. Even when it's water weight, how you can feel it. So anyway, not that that's why you guys tuned in. Kayvon, if I had to choose only one traffic source, what would you recommend? All right, well, without knowing more, Kayvon, and I definitely want to say hello to all the other people that said hi, but right off the bat, I would say that obviously it's very dependent on the situation, but if you're asking me where's the best place to be advertising where you have the highest likelihood of being ROI positive, I would say for sure that is YouTube. Most of the people that I know right now, the a lot more people are getting a positive ROI on acquisition on YouTube, much more so than they are on Facebook. That's not to say that there aren't some people I know that are, positive ROI on acquisition on Facebook, but proportionally, definitely a much, much higher percentage of people that I know are positive ROI on acquisition on YouTube than they are on Facebook. So hopefully that answers your question, Kayvon. But I tend to believe right now that the best deals are, like, as far as generic, not retargeting, not anything, is on YouTube right now. Which is why I did another Steal Our Winners with Alec, the YouTube machine. And actually, I wanted to put this up there. And like I would say, within the next week, you'll start seeing promos by us for that docu-series that you just saw the ad for. We're finally ready to roll that out, so we're kind of excited. We'll be rolling that out in Italy as well. I don't know if we're rolling that out in Brazil or in Japan, but I guess my partners there will tell me. Good seeing you, my friend Glenn, just up the road in Highland Beach. Maybe one of these days, smoke a cigar together. That might be nice, huh? For sure. Hey, Mark Walker from London. Good to see you, my friend. And I hope that you had a wonderful New Year's as well. Brian from Houston. Good to see you, my friend. And Steph, love that avatar of yourself there. Nice to see you, Steph. Kevin David. Okay, Rich, years ago you taught the concept of reading every morning related to topics you were tackling later in the day. Been using that technique and it works wonders. Thanks. Very cool. Yeah, like I definitely want to talk to you about something that I noticed. But let's see if what it's related to is how to enter the day and then how to reflect on the day to make the next day better. Andrea from Italy, hello. So I guess maybe my partners in Italy are starting to amp it up a little bit because we're getting more people from Italy, it seems like. Welcome, Andrea, sorry. And hopefully you also know about strategicprofits.it. John, Happy New Year to you. I like that photo. It looks like you're on a balcony in Manhattan. I don't know if that's the case, but that's what that picture looks like. What was the answer to traffic source? It was YouTube. Hello from Boston. Well, thank you, Veronica. Good to see you. And I like the hat. Carlos, always good to see you from Venezuela. And Fred in San Antonio. Hello. Yeah, don't know if I recognize you unless you changed your pic. Mateo. Yes, cool. Current thoughts about theory of constraints and the old GPS too. Well, I guess my thoughts about theory of constraints haven't changed at all. I mean, it's extremely valuable. And there's kind of, I guess you could say, numerous levels to it, right? There's the value of having that skill set, and I would say that the value of having that skill set is pretty high. What I would say is even more beneficial, though, is having mastered that skill set, how it changes your way of thinking. So in order to be able to execute well on theory of constraints, right? What was I watching recently about expertise? Son of a bitch. I was watching something about expertise. Oh, it was with the whoever the person is, and as we're talking, I could probably just look it up. But let's see. Now I got to get out of this. The person whose research the 10,000 hours is based on, that Malcolm Gladwell kind of made famous by touting this person's research. And this guy is a professor, and don't remember where. And I'm trying to get into the regular YouTube. Okay, there we go. And he he talks about a lot of stuff that we've talked about way back on these live streams several months ago, where we were talking about mental maps and distinctions, really, and how the 10,000 hours is kind of a throwaway number. It's not really, it's just a number. Expertise can happen a lot faster, it can happen a lot longer. It really depends on how you practice and what that practice, whether it's deliberate or somewhat passive. That being said, when it's deliberate practice, with practice, you begin to see things differently, distinctions, right? And then with those distinctions, you create new mental maps. That's why, like, someone who's played chess and a chess expert can look at a board and remember where all the pieces were, where someone like myself could look at that board and, since I don't play chess, have no clue and couldn't replicate the board, right? Because it all has meaning, right? So with theory of constraints, it's kind of the same thing. Like, there's the benefit of the skill set, but then there's a whole nother benefit of, like, once you have that skill set, how do you see the world differently? So, you know, for me, for example, it shouldn't be that much of a leap in people's minds, right? Like, how was I able to see back in 2007 that attention was quickly going to become the scarcest commodity online? Well, that's a constraint, right? And as I was looking at the internet and I was looking at buying and I was looking at prospects and thinking about I don't know what, right? One of the things, though, the idea of a constraint and seeing them, because it's so, like, internalized with me, changes my perspective. And therefore, maybe the reason I noticed that attention was going to be scarce before the rest of the world was because I had that theory of constraints background, right? So, you know, and I've shared this numerous times, that one of the biggest surprises for me was how people who went through GPS just became better entrepreneurs by going through theory of constraints material as, like, a side benefit to learning theory of constraints. So it's definitely well worth learning. The challenge is, for many, is that, one, it's not something easy to learn, and that for many entrepreneurs, I guess it all depends on where they are in the stages of development of their business. But, you know, whether I would learn that first, versus many other things, that's a little bit different. So I would say that anyone who has the tool set of theory of constraints kind of in their mental toolbox and can do it and use it and looks at the world that way will benefit greatly. Whether or not that's where an entrepreneur needs to spend their time in the short term or even in the intermediate term is really dependent on where that entrepreneur is today. I hope, Patrick, that answers your question. If I'm not answering it, by all means, just ask another one that gives me more clarity. Jason in Maine. Nice, Maine. Also, nice place to be during summertime. A little chilly right now, I would imagine. Ed in Arizona, it's not going to be chilly there, that's for sure. Hope you're doing well, Ed. Okay, tired of roasted frozen broccoli with olive oil and garlic herb seasoning. My family. Oh, tried. Oh, cool. I was wondering. I'm like, oh wow, he's doing the same thing that I do. Thank you. How is your keto 1 meal a day going? How do you prepare to get yourself into 1 meal a day? Well, so bad news. I have to. So my plan, for those that don't know, my plan was for the month of January to do 10,000 jump ropes a day and do 1 meal a day. Unfortunately, I 2 days before the New Year's, I wanted to just see, like, how I was doing with it. So I did, I think, 11,000 that day. Then the next day, I didn't want to do, you know, over 10,000 because I wanted my body a little bit chance to rest. So I did like 4,000, but I did like 4,000 jumps where I did 2 sets. Well, I did a set of 300 jumps, a minute off, and then another 300, then a minute off, 300, another minute off, 300, another, done, right? So 1,200 in a set. I did 2 sets of that and then stopped. And then in the afternoon, I was like, you know what, let me just see if I could do 600 straight. I did. Then maybe like an hour or two later, I was like, let me see if I can do 1,000 straight. I did. And then the next day I did, like, I think like 3,000. I did 1,000 straight, 1,000 straight, 1,000 straight. And then the next day, which would have been the day, like New Year's Eve, I woke up and this hand was starting to really hurt. This is the hand that I had surgery on from tearing a ligament from doing jump roping. So I met with my doctor this past weekend, and he recommended a hand specialist down here. I'm going to go see that hand specialist. So right now I'm doing no meals a day because right now I'm fasting since Sunday. And then I will go to one meal a day. For me, one meal a day is relatively easy, and I think it has to do with the fact that, like, I've been in ketosis for so many years. Started doing ketosis back in the 90s. So my body automatically switches into ketosis anytime I don't eat very quickly. Whereas, like, people who haven't been in ketosis can actually experience something what's called the ketosis flu, where it takes several days to get your body to switch really from sugar to ketones. I don't have that problem. So one meal a day is also really easy for me as well. Generally, if I don't eat, I just get tired. That's how I remembered not to eat, unless I'm eating carbs, and then I'm hungry all the time. So right now, I've been fasting since early, 3 o'clock Sunday morning or something like that. I might fast all week and go like, 6 days. Not really sure, but I figured that would be the least I could do as I'm getting like my hand checked out and figuring out like how the hell can I jump rope, because I definitely want to, and maybe I can wear a hand wrap or something. But when I did that in the past, that's what caused this. So hopefully I will figure it out. Wow, Kevin is down 20 pounds since November 1st. Nicely done. That's a big deal for anyone. So good for you. Isabella, thank you. I got time and energy, so why not show up a bit more? Very cool. Does the world need life coaches? This is what I will test first to get out of my 9-to-5 hell, and my strategy is being worked out at the moment. Well, so what I would say, Isabella, is that hopefully that we can take life coaching and dial it in so that you're not one of God knows how many people out there, but that you have a unique specialty talking to a unique group, like a specific group of people, and can promise them some specific outcome. Not that there's anything wrong with life coaching, certainly isn't. But what I would say is that that's almost, it's not a commodity, but it's almost like a commodity because like it's so generic, right? Like, so ideally, what are the things that you're going to help coach people to do or to overcome or to deal with? And from that, then we can kind of tighten it up so that you're not just a life coach, excuse me, but you're a life coach with a specific set of skills that addresses a specific set of problems that offers a specific set of solutions. So tell me more, Isabella. Hey, Rich, tuning in from Northern California. Well, welcome, Jim. I like your background. I don't know if you're using that for Clubhouse, but that's a very common Clubhouse type background. And don't know if you've been on these before. And if not, welcome. And I hope that the lockdown in California is not driving you crazy. Hello, Denise. That's a new picture, isn't it? With a baseball hat now. Well, Happy New Year to you, and hello as well. Let's see, Giancarlo, good to see you, my friend. And Christy, yes, I love the omnipresent episode on SOW. It seems like you could kind of combine it with the belt method. Yeah, you certainly could. And then also, Franco, yeah, who I owe the report writing workshop to, Franco had like an organic way. He does an organic way of the omnipresent approach, which is pretty cool. And then in the most recent Steal Our Winners, I just did a segment with Alaric Heck on YouTube retargeting and how he uses that to be everywhere and anywhere. In addition to that, I do want to do an episode ideally with Tim Bird on how to retarget your competitor sites, but I would prefer that, since I learned it from Tim, that Tim delivered it. I was supposed to record a Steal Our Winners with him yesterday, and then he he canceled at the last minute, so I don't know where we're at with that. But the omnipresent approach certainly is the way to go, and using AdRoll, using Google retargeting are pretty powerful. Let's see. Oh, thank you again for the clubhouse info. I love it. I now understand why they call it crack house. Yeah, I don't know what it says about me or what it says about other people, but I think I haven't spent anywhere near as much time as it seems a lot of marketers are, and there's lots of good information being shared on there. Totally get it. I think the younger me, like I was telling Jay Abraham about this, and actually Jay and I might do a clubhouse today, sometime between 5 and 7. Jay and I have a call with Japan at 7, so I got him registered on Clubhouse, and he wants to do stuff on it. So I think him and I might be doing one a little later today, which reminded me also. Let's see. I'm doing a Clubhouse with Maxwell Finn on Friday at, I think, noon. Let me just see when we said we were going to do that. I think that's when it was. Yep. And I guess I could share this really quick. Let's see if I can. Huh? Nope, you're not going to see that. Okay. But yeah, so it's marketers talking about marketing to marketers. And that's the name of the thing that Maxwell Finn and I are doing. And that's Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. But yeah, so what I like, the old me, I was telling Jay about this, like when I first came across Jay Abraham, I listened to everything of Jay's, right? In the background, consistently, high speed, till I internalized it all, which is like, which is interesting. I've met clients of mine who know my stuff better than I do because generally I do something and then I move on, right? Jay does that with his stuff, but I studied it, right? So a lot of Jay's stuff I know better than him. And when he's got a challenge, a lot of times I will use something that he's done or talked about in the past and be like, well, why not do something like what you did when you did this or that? was a time in my life when I consumed marketing 24/7, right? And I certainly don't do that as much anymore. And so the old me probably would have been on Clubhouse like a gazillion hours, like so many people seem to be. I'm not. I kind of wonder if I should be on more when there are times when I have free time, and it's like I don't really feel like necessarily being on there, and one, listening to that much, or two, talking that much. But it certainly seems like there are a lot of people who are spending a lot of time there, and it makes me question other elements of their life and business, because if they have that much free time, I just makes me question stuff. Anyway, though, it is great. There is a lot of great learning there. It will definitely change, and it'll be very interesting to see how it changes, because every platform, every social media site has changed dramatically over the years. Google, Facebook, etc. Okay, Leon is holding down the fort in New York City. Leon, you ever gonna move? Um, every time I hear more about New York, it just makes me happier and happier that we are permanently down here now in Delray. It makes me sadder and sadder about the $4 million penthouse that we have that we were planning on getting rid of. That's probably not worth $4 million now, but yeah, I don't know like when New York property values will bounce all the way back. And if taxes go up, which it certainly seems like it will for the wealthiest, it makes it even that much more less likely that it does rebound. So we need another Giuliani in there, unfortunately. Question from Renan. I really relate when you share your experiences with procrastination and not starting projects and tasks. So nowadays, how do you overcome that lack of discipline to getting things started and finished? Well, so yeah, so I'm glad you asked that question, Renan. And along those lines, right? Like, um, what I've been doing is really trying to make the best of each and every day, right? And nothing new there, right? But one of the first things I did, and I did it several months ago, but it's really made a difference for me, is start waking up at the same time every day. So there used to be a lot of times where I didn't sleep at all. I pull an all-nighter, or I would just go to bed whenever I'd look at the next day's schedule. If I didn't have anything until noon, I might work until really late or stay up late or whatnot. And so my sleeping was very erratic, and I wanted to get on a schedule, but I found it very difficult to just go to sleep at the same times because sometimes I wasn't tired. But I started getting up at 6 every morning, and I'd like to actually get up a little bit earlier than that, but right now I'm getting up at 6. And most days, these days, I get up, without the alarm clock. I wake up like a couple minutes before then. And so that I've been doing for the last couple months, and that's made falling asleep a lot easier and staying asleep a lot easier. And also I've seen like my deep sleep, the numbers go way up, and as well as my REM sleep go up. So I'm really happy about that. So after getting up though for a while at 6, I, at first I would jump into my workout. Right now I can't work out. My elliptical needs to get fixed. My which I just was talking to the service guy right before I jumped on this, and I can't jump rope right now. So all I can do is walk and possibly go running. So yesterday was an interesting day because yesterday I got up at 6. I was going to do the elliptical. It broke. So I was like kind of not sure what to do. And I wasted like the first 2 or 3 hours of my day just kind of pittering around, not doing anything because I didn't have that very next thing to jump on. And then at 9, I had what I scheduled for myself was some videos that I needed to record. And I thought I was going to be able to wing it. And then when I tried to, I failed. And so then I was like, oh shit, I got to script this. And then I started working on the script. And then that then kind of slowed everything down. And what I was supposed to work on the next hour didn't happen the next hour. And well, the following hour I actually had a meeting. Then the following 2 hours I was supposed to get other stuff done. But that morning thing really threw me off. And so what I what I kind of what I realized last night, because I was writing in my journal, and what I've decided to do, and this also shouldn't be earth shattering to anyone, is to write in my journal in the morning, which before, like, I'd write whenever, and also write in the evening before bed. And I used to do that pretty consistently a long time ago, but last bunch of years it's been more haphazard, like just whenever. But in the morning, I'm planning out my day, and in the evening, I'm reflecting on what went right, what went wrong, and how can I do better the next day, today, right? Today's been a great day. So yesterday, challenging, today, great. Now, one of the differences was that, like, I know I need to jump into something as soon as humanly possible from waking up, or I'm in jeopardy of kind of burning away that time. And there's no big deal in burning away that time, except it doesn't really set up the right mental state to carry forward into work. Like, if I get up at 6 and it's now 11, 5 hours later, and I don't feel like I've gotten anything done, it starts to create some tension in me. Like, what the hell have I been doing these last 5 hours? So one of the things that I wrote about last night in my journal was, one, that I need to know exactly what I'm going to do first when I wake up, and it needs to be something easy and something that, like, takes time, right? So this morning I got up at 6, and I was out the door by 6:10, and I went for like a 5 mile walk. Got back to the house at like 7:20 or 7:30, and then immediately cleaned up, took all my supplements, like, then sat down to write my journal, right? Like, that was the next thing. But to go back to what I was thinking about last night, I was thinking about, okay, so one, right, like, start the day by having specific things to jump into. Then, even the personal stuff. Then, once I've jumped into those things, when I'm going to start the work day, I don't think it's wise to jump into something that could go sideways, like doing a bunch of videos. I think I'm better off saving that for some other part of my day, and that the first things in my day should be stuff that is relatively not likely to go sideways and is relatively easy for me to dive into. Now, if one of the most important tasks, three most important tasks for the day, can be done, pretty clearly, then I will jump into that. So for today, like, one of my most important tasks was really to sit down with Matt and start planning out, like, the rest of January, the rest of February. And so, like, that's nothing's going to go sideways there. I'm looking forward to talk to Matt. I like talking to Matt. So very easy for me to begin the day by doing stuff like that. So in addition to that, also, right, like, last thing, just to answer your question, is on my task. So, like, the night before, I'm looking at my schedule, I'm looking at how much free time I have, I'm thinking about what I want to get done, and so I start brainstorming, like, what are all the important things I'd love to have done by the end of the day, right? Like, the following day. The next morning, like, in my journal, right, one of the things that so far, like, just the last 2 days, right, that I've made a point to do, is because I beat myself up a ridiculous amount, and that's been called to my attention by, like, the psychologists that I've seen in the past, et cetera, coaches, as far as in my journal, right? So, and I beat myself up, like, oh, you haven't done anything on that, and then I was like, well, actually, I did do a few things on that today. But so one of the things that I want to make a practice that I've been doing the last 2 days is to, in the morning, like, what has to be, like, just like I ask clients when I'm doing a consult, what has to be true at the end of the consult to make this the best investment of your life? So that I'm clear what they want, and then I can hold them accountable, like, during the conversation, during the day together, however long the consult is, to make sure that we stay on track, because that's how I'm going to be judged. Asking myself that question, like, what has to be true at the end of the day for me to feel like this was a successful day, that this was a day well lived, well planned, well executed, what have you. And so that is, like, step number one for me to get personally clear about what has to be true that is not true now, over the next 8, 10, 12, 14 hours, so that I'm clear about what at the end of the day would make today a win. And if I'm going to deviate from that, it better be for a bigger win, right? So that's first. Then when I'm looking at the tasks, right, being clear on one, how much time am I approximating for this? Because like you can't prioritize unless you are approximating time, because your priorities are going to be bullshit if you don't know, like, this one's going to take you 5 hours, this one's going to take you 10 minutes, right? Like I obviously was way off on how much time I approximated to shoot these videos because I didn't think I was going to have to script them. The next thing, though, is to be clear about like what is the ultimate outcome of each task. Like, why are you doing this? Like, at the end of the day, it should be very much correlated to whatever the top objectives are for you for this week, this month, this quarter, this year, right? What I would suggest, in addition to that, and that's just what I was kind of playing with last night, was what would the role, who would be responsible for this if it wasn't me? Now, that role might not even exist in my business today, but being clear about the roles that I'm filling in on is useful, because as we begin hiring more people, I want to know like which ones are going to take the most off my plate. And then lastly, like and this is more, I'd say, generic, but with entrepreneurs especially, never think of a to-do list as a to-do list. A to-do list is a get done list. And there's a big difference between a to-do list and a get done list, right? A get done list means that someone's going to do it. You're responsible for it getting done, but you are not necessarily responsible for doing it. So as an entrepreneur, your to-do list really is a get done list. Now, some of those activities you might have to do, right? But recognizing that at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, you're never graded based on your effort. You're graded on your performance. And performance is based on things getting done. And internalizing that you have to do everything is not the right way to go about it. So thinking about how this could be done without you, how could it be done easier, all these kinds of things is very important. So the big decision, though, I made between yesterday and today was really kind of architecting my day in a way where I would not hit a snag until I had momentum, right? And then the last thing, which is something I've always like kind of resisted a lot. Dan Kennedy has always preached it. I've always resisted it, but I've now succumbed to Dan's advice because I believe he's right. I probably thought he was right before, but I just didn't want to do it. Is taking that to get done list, right? And now overlaying it on my calendar and thinking about, well, when am I actually going to do these things? Because I live in an unrealistic world where I think I can accomplish way more than I possibly can. And that's why it's important for me, one, to put things on the calendar so that I'm forced to prioritize based on estimates of time. And then two, also getting clearer with myself about how I'm going to grade my performance at the end of the day. And that's more important than I think many of you might realize, because especially if in any way, shape, or form your experience parallels mine, or you're similar to me in the fact that you're your own worst critic, as I certainly am of mine, beating myself up on a daily basis does not lead to positive momentum, does not lead to me being more unstoppable. It actually becomes a hindrance. And so you don't want to be setting yourself up to fail. And by having too high of an expectation and always not living up to it becomes problematic. So hopefully that helps, Renan. If it doesn't, feel free to ask any other question. Hopefully that's helpful to others as well. What is the best email company to use for affiliate marketing? GetResponse, MailChimp? When you say affiliate marketing, I'm not sure if that means to support a bunch of other people's, like you're the affiliate, they're the product owner, or if you mean the other way around. I would imagine that MailChimp or GetResponse would be halfway decent. I mean, generally, believe it or not, they have, I think, yeah, MailChimp has higher deliverability than ActiveCampaign. And as an affiliate marketer, deliverability is going to be obviously the very most important thing. Another thing, though, that you certainly can do, and this is something that I think I forget who told me it. It's not original to me, although some of it we've done in the past, but is to do, when someone gets on your list, to do your level best to get people to reply, possibly like reply to this email and I'll send you X or something like that, right? And then so because that shows, right, the ISPs, or the ESPs rather, the email service providers, that the person who's sending the email back to you is actually interested in this stuff. Then if you have a VA go back in and just send a quick response back, now it shows a back and forth, deliverability rates go up. So there are things like that that you can do no matter what platform you're using, or I mean ESP you're using, to boost deliverability. Obviously when you're on an IP that is shared by many mailers, you run a risk, but you might not want to go down the road of having your own IP address in your own server, because that might be too much depending on where you are in the affiliate game. But that's my advice, Jason. Thoughts on expanding from copywriting to ecom? Is it worth it? It all depends, I guess, what other skill sets you have, Balsam. Balsam, that's a cool name. It isn't the natural progression, if you're asking me, in my mind. If you've got serious copywriting chops, the natural extension is to go into more of an info product that is more sold through, heavy copy. Most econ products are not that heavy in copy. So you would be taking a skill set that you have, and it would be of less use to you in this new thing. I can't cite any of the studies or give you any of the data, but I remember reading years and years ago, like 10, 15, 20 years ago, a few studies about entrepreneurship, the failure rate, etc. And one of the things that I remember coming across was that that there's a big difference between the failure rate of entrepreneurs who go from one thing to the next, right? Just the next opportunity to the next opportunity, versus entrepreneurs who go after one thing, and then if that doesn't work, are like the next thing they can benefit from the knowledge of that setback or failure, right? And that when an entrepreneur stays tight enough so that that knowledge can compound into the next opportunity and the next one, like they're actually getting better, the likelihood of ultimate success is very high, as opposed to when an entrepreneur jumps from thing to thing to thing with no benefit of previous things in the new thing. The likelihood of success is no higher than, each progressive swing at bat, etc. So you gain a lot as an entrepreneur by doing things that are either selling the same things to different people, selling different things to the same people, or being one step removed. In other words, not selling new things to new people, but selling, new things to the same people, or same things to new people. That's one step, right? Versus two steps. So my concern is, when you ask me that question, is that without knowing more of the context, that you might be jumping from something that is so not reliant on great copy, coming from copywriting, it just does not seem like the wisest choice. There are great opportunities in ecom, so certainly not that, and certainly it's a lot bigger of a place to play in than info is, so I totally get that. But I would say drop shipping is like the next logical step for someone who's done affiliate marketing, right? Like the previous question, as opposed to from copywriting. So just a thought there, Balsam. I hope that helps you. I hope these answers are helping more than just the people asking the questions. And if you would prefer me to answer more tightly so that we can get to more questions, let me know. If you want me to spend more time on answers, let me know. I'm here for you guys. So let's make it as worthwhile for everyone. And once again, thank you for the emotes and the comments. And if you're sharing, thank you for the shares. Also, what can I advertise on a Facebook ad since we can't put a raw affiliate link? I don't want to get banned. Well, I think even when you put redirects, Facebook follows that redirect. So then I think and I wouldn't be the best person to give you advice on this, Jason, because I'm sure there are hardcore, heavy duty affiliate marketers who are doing stuff. But based on the knowledge I have, what I would say is that you might be better off with you want to get people on a list, right? So that then you can advertise, without having to pay, right? By sending emails and things like that. In addition to that, you could be creating retargeting lists, right? So, for example, getting someone who's interested in something that is related to all the different types of affiliate offers that you promote. You can send people to content, you can post content, you create videos, and anyone who watches a certain amount of that video, so it's free content, right? You could boost you could create like a Facebook Live where you're just really going over something and then boost it, right? Or advertise it would be the better way to do it. But then anyone who watches like a certain, let's say, a through play, you can have them be an audience where you're now targeting them relevant affiliate ads, right? Or have something inexpensive that you sell that's really a loss leader, break even or whatever, where you're really doing the name grab so that you can then sell them all the other different affiliate opportunities. You could also do, if that was too difficult, you can see if any of the people who you're doing affiliate stuff for have resale programs. I mean, not resale programs, resale rights or anything like that. So you could buy a product of theirs where you could advertise. But I'm not sure what best practices are, for affiliates these days with challenges as far as affiliate links go. When I used to be in the baby niche, I used to sell a lot of affiliate stuff because it was easier to grab people, like being an affiliate for baby carriages, for baby monitoring devices, and all kinds of stuff like that. But I was selling those things primarily to get the name to sell the 20 or so ebooks that we had on parenting and baby doing stuff. Plus, then there was the affiliate revenue for the people that had bought all the ebooks as well. So we kind of benefited both ways. So you might want to think about something that you could add that would be beneficial for you. And then, the grander idea there would be how much do you make per subscriber on affiliate revenue? And then can you create something like a report, a video, whatever that you give away free, but advertise that for less than what the value is in the commissions that you receive from, whatever you're promoting. Because at the end of the day, every business can be reduced down to the cost per acquisition and the lifetime value, those two numbers, right? And you either are able to make more based on the cost to acquire or not. And if you're not, you're always going to be in a challenge. And if you are, then you're always going to have options. I hope that helps, Jason. I know that I'm not giving you the full answer that you're looking for, but I'm not sure that there is like a specific simple answer. And if you're looking for a specific simple answer on that, I would look for Facebook groups that are dedicated to big affiliates, and I would find out what they're doing. Question, thoughts around avoiding fame, keeping privacy while still running an online business and helping people. I'm growing through organic Instagram traffic, 25,000 followers. Good for you, man. Nicely done, William Rosenberg. But worry about this already. Well, why do you worry about it? What's the big downside? I mean, there are a lot of pros. There are a lot of positives to being known, right? I mean, I was much more well-known in 2006, 2007, and that was somewhat of a pain. Not in the beginning. It was very stimulating and exciting in the beginning, but it did become a pain after a while, like not being able to go any place that was internet marketing related without like a crowd forming around me. That certainly is not my day-to-day experience anymore, and that certainly is nice. But it's also nice to be able to reach out to people and have them respond pretty quickly. In fact, uh, other than today, I can't remember the last time that I reached out to someone. It's obviously it happens, but I can't remember the last time I reached out to someone where they didn't know who I was. But like I said, it happened today. I reached out to Corey Haynes, who just started a site called swipefiles.co or something like that. Anyway, I reached out to him on Instagram, and I said, I'm not sure if you know who I am, so if you don't know who I am, I'll follow this up with a more appropriate intro. But and he's like, no, I'm sorry, I never heard of you. But more or less, also, I guess in my divorce, even though my ex and I agreed to the terms, like when we separated, it took like 8 years to get a divorce because every lawyer in the world was certain I was hiding billions of dollars somewhere based on all my success, and so that was a pain in the ass. But other than that, there's not that much downside. You could always create, a pen name, but I don't, unless you're in an area where you don't really want to be associated with, yeah, you'd have to tell me more, William, of like why that is a concern. I mean, for me, and obviously everybody's different, but for me, the mark that I want to make on the world is very much related to this, right? That I want to make being an entrepreneur I want to make it easier, I want to make it more certain, and I want to make it more accessible to as many people as possible. And if I can make a difference in that vein, which I feel I've already have, but if I can make a bigger difference in that vein, then my life mattered. Like that, like the world was different, not for everybody in the world, but for some group of people in the world was different because I existed. And because that's what I'm about, right? That's the cause that I'm committed to. Being public about it is certainly a good thing for me in many different ways. So there are a lot of other benefits that you don't get by being somewhat anonymous. And obviously, if your Instagram has grown to 25,000, that seems like a very impressive number to me, since I don't have anywhere near that number. I would assume that you have a personality that resonates with people, and it's much easier growing a personality-based business than a brand business. Once a brand gets known, there are a lot of benefits to having a brand business over a personality business. But a personality business is easier to get off the ground, and it certainly is easier to grow. And it's not until way later that there's a price to pay, like as far as where a brand actually serves you better. But William, throw whatever issues, comments, concerns, thoughts you have, and I'll be glad to take it further. Kayvon wants to know, what's the difference between mental models and mental maps? I would say that they're the same thing. At least the way I talk about them, they're interchangeable. A mental model versus a mental map. I guess in like the Shane Parrish kind of Farnham Street way of thinking about things, a mental model are like subtraction before addition, right? Eliminate all the reasons for failure before you start doing more things for potential success. That's a mental model, right? A mental map, I don't even know what like the Farnham Street people would call a mental map, but in my mind, they're the same. And basically, it's just like the way you see the world working, right? And taking that into account is the way I think about it. Okay. So Renan has some help for you, Jason. And he says, go to facebook.com, help, have some answers there. So very cool on that. And if there's something really good there, guys, let me know. If it's this way, if I ever get that question again, I can answer it better. You'll have to get some friends and do a little Dutch jump rope. Yeah, right. And it was, I was bummed because most of the jump rope I do just standard, right? And now because I was going to be doing 10,000, I was starting to do, crossovers and the what is it called? Like the boxers skip or whatever. I started to mix it up a little bit to make time go by faster. I'm really hoping that the doctor can tell me what I need to do to my hand so that I don't rip ligaments every time I go crazy. It's a very uncommon thing. There are many people who jump rope a ridiculous amount and they don't rip ligaments. In fact, the previous hand surgeon I had in New York was convinced that I didn't do it by jumping rope. He said it was trauma, which of course I was like, I think I would know if something hit my hand that hard to snap a ligament. But okay, doc. So uh, yeah, I'll find out, but double Dutch, that would be fun. I'm on 50 push-ups a day. Cool, Kayvon. I assume that you're doing that straight, 50 push-ups. There's a lot of benefit, and I'm not an expert on this, but I'm pretty well read on a lot of things. Definitely what I've noticed for myself, and I would assume it's the same for a lot of people, that if you want to get to a higher number and you want to get into fitness better, faster, breaking it up and do like maybe doing 50 push-ups straight really is tough for you. What I was going to say is doing several sets over the course of the day, but doing less so that you never go to complete failure, is a way to you can really move pretty fast as far as getting better. I certainly have done that with pull-ups. Like in my old office, I put in a pull-up bar into the ceiling. And every time I walked by to go to the bathroom or something, I would just do a few pull-ups. And in the beginning, I could only do 3 or 4 without a ridiculous amount of effort. But over time, it went to 10 and then it went to 15. And it just was, now I haven't done pull-ups in forever, so I'm sure it would be difficult. But what I was doing was doing sets of 20 squats and 20 push-ups, and I would just do them numerous times over the course of the day, and until 20 was too easy, and then I would go to 25 or something like that. Just something to think about. But good for you, Kayvon. 10 hours was researched by 3 doctors, but was simplified and made common parlance by Gladwell. Oh, the 10,000 hours. Yeah, so I think it's from. Oh yeah, who was that? Who was that person? Let's see here. Let's see. I think it's. I think the person was Crump, and that I was talking about, and it was. There we go. That who he. Let's see if it was Crump. Whoever it was, he actually was a professor at the university. He hired students to come to his office every day to learn random numbers, and they had to commit for some period of time. And people would get better over time and develop their own strategies. And then he had the person who had come for 2 years teach someone else hit the strategies he developed, and that cut down time dramatically on what the next person could. So it's Anders Ericsson. That's the person that I was thinking of, Anders Ericsson. I watched a cool YouTube video on a book summary of his book, Peak, and that's where they were talking about some of this information. So don't remember what took me on that tangent here or there as far as the 10,000 hours, but mental maps, distinctions, stuff like that. So yeah, the 10,000 hours is really, because we all have driven 10,000 hours if we're over a certain age. Doesn't mean we're all great drivers, because it has to be deliberate practice. You have to constantly be trying to get better. You need feedback. Autopilot stuff is not practice, not in the words of these kinds of studies. Antonio, Happy New Year to you in Barcelona, Spain. Nice to see you. Hey, Rajesh, good to see you from the UK. My wonderful daughter. Hello, Ava. I cannot wait until you get down to Florida. I'm hoping we spend some time together. Your dad is one amazing and humble man, and I'm a 36-year veteran in marketing. Well, that's very nice of you to say, Darren. Uh, haha, guilty of that fact. Guilty of that, Rich. First with Jay, Dan, and then you. Yeah, so you know my stuff then better than I do. And to me, like I would imagine, I don't know if you would agree, Michael, but like if I was still in that mindset, if I was still like that way, I probably would be on Clubhouse a ridiculously longer amount of time than I am on these days. But yeah, I don't know, I just can't imagine spending that amount of time. It's like yeah, some people will remain nameless, but makes me think they got nothing else going on in their life. It's beginning of the year. Like people should be busy. They should be getting their momentum in place, their business. Like, so to spend 15 hours or 14 hours a day on this platform to me is absurd. And I'm not talking about the Morrison brothers, but they've spent a ridiculous amount of time. It's like I need to get in touch with them, and I think like I've texted them, like the easiest way for me to get in touch with them is to join a Clubhouse channel that they're on and remind them to check their uh, text messages. Giancarlo, Rich, what type of emails do you send previously to a webinar invitation to a live webinar? Let's say 2 days previous to a webinar. Pain, solution, infotainment, etc. Sorry about the confusing question. Okay, so it really depends, as so many questions do, but let's say like if it's to your house list, right? They already know who you are. So what I would say is that you want to create as much as possible the fear of future regret. So that would be, kind of getting people excited about what you're going to cover. So it could be a cheat sheet, right? Like where you fill in the blanks and all the blanks are like, the first place that everyone should be advertising today is blank, right? You should not, the first step in setting up that account is blank, right? You should never add a second channel for advertising until you've whatever, right? Like, and so, in other words, open loop, open loop, open loop. Like, people want to know those answers, they'll attend. In addition to that, good reason why, explaining, if you have testimonials because you've done this webinar before, that certainly would be powerful. I would say it's a lot of that. It's a lot of tease, right? More so than even the pain. But that's how I would go about it. If it's to a cold audience, though, then you've got more work to do. I have like something, I feel like not an itch, like a tingling feeling in my nose, that I keep having. So sorry if I keep pulling on my nose. If it's a colder audience, I find that it's really helpful to deliver some kind of message through video, something like this, right? Doesn't have to be live, but I think it's really beneficial for someone who gets on a webinar to have seen your face and seen that face with sound, so that now when they're on the webinar and they're hearing your voice, they have a picture of what you look like you're less of a stranger. So I originally called that the indoctrination sequence. I think a lot of people have used that term. And that's more about like one, gaining some credibility, likability, and bonding, right? That's why you would do that to a cold audience as opposed to a house list. So that would be one. And then I guess back to a house list, the other might be if you can create more urgency by either using social proof, like how many people have already registered and what people have said about registering, if you can use any of that, and then that it's not going to be repeated, or there's a limited number of people. You've only paid for like 100 people to be on your Zoom call because that's what your monthly billing allows for, and there's already 100 people who've registered. Some people aren't going to show up, but you also know that people are still registering, and some people are certainly going to get boxed out. Might use a number bigger than 100, but I'm just thinking like, that's what we keep like on our, since now that we're left the mothership of Agora right now, there's no reason for us to have more than 100, to pay monthly on our Zoom calls until we get BGS up. So, it's not uncommon that you might only have 100 or something like that. So there can be reality related to the scarcity, and scarcity is a play, right? Scarcity, especially combined with social proof, creates tremendous urgency, because if there's a lot of people who are interested or committed, there's very few spots, right? Now, like, you've got both working for you. Daniel, good to see you. Happy New Year to you too. Question: how do I gain large signups to a webinar event if I don't have access to high-profile partners to collaborate with? Well, so that's very generic, Daniel. Hard to say without knowing more, right? But so one of the things that you can think about is to have what we call a self-liquidating offer behind the registration page, right? So they register, then they get some kind of low price self-liquidating offer, right? Before the webinar, even if the webinar starts immediately after. Generally, like, in Steal Our Winners, one of the very first issues that we did a interview with Brandon Ham, who's a media buyer at Agora, and he took a losing webinar and turned it into a winning webinar by telling Facebook to make the goal, instead of registrations for the webinar, the goal was conversions on the self-liquidating offer. That had us paying more for leads, but turned a losing webinar into a positive ROI webinar. One, because the caliber of people improved, which is why it cost more. But two, there was a high correlation between people who took the self-liquidating offer, bought the product on the webinar at a much higher rate than people who did not. So one of the ways to get a lot more people to sign up for your webinar is to be able to spend more on advertising that webinar. And one of the easiest ways to be able to afford spending more on advertising that webinar is to have some sort of self-liquidating offer, and then using that self-liquidating offer as the goal for conversion tracking for Facebook. That would be first and foremost. The other would be to select topics that are highly relevant and highly topical to your market. So, it's like whenever I can tie in what's going on in the world to what I'm currently doing, I'm going to get a bump because it seems more timely. And every day there's events going on in the world, so you can always kind of time stuff towards other things, which gives more people a reason to talk about what it is you're doing, etc. So those would be the first things, Daniel, but throw another question at me, give me more specifics, I'll be glad to follow up on it. Rajesh, hello. As a new startup online entrepreneur, what in your mind is the most effective strategy to attract paid clients? Okay. Well, that, Rajesh, without knowing more, is incredibly hard to give you the best answer for. But one of the things that I would say is that, and it really kind of depends on what you're selling, since I don't know if it's e-commerce, coaching, info products, new cars, who knows, right? But one of the things is to recognize that the internet, aside from a place to be entertained and all those kinds of things, is still organized around information, right? And so it's still an information channel above and beyond everything else. And that being online and having an online business, no matter what the business, there is an information component to it. So the most effective strategy to get paid clients, before I even go any further with what I was saying, let me just take a step back for a second, is to be able to have a front end where you can afford to buy those customers, right? At the end of the day, when you're clear about what your cost per acquisition is and what it should be, and what lifetime value is, then it becomes more a game of investment, right? Like, how many customers can I afford to buy at this price that will be worth this to me in X period of time? That's the easiest way, right? Like, if you wanted to know how do I plan on going from selling no coaching programs right now, because like even if you go to our website and try and buy it, it'll tell you it's not offered, to selling a lot uh, after exploiting our list, partners, what have you, is to sell more steal our winners and then have a way to ascend people from steal our winners into the coaching program, which I feel like I've already figured out. The next way, though, back to where I was going with like recognizing that the internet is an information medium, is to think about what type of information would people need to have in order to become a paid client. And one of the things that I talk about is that if you believe in what you sell and you believed in it before you sold it, right? So you sell it because you believe in it, not that you believe in it because you sell it. Then something led you to the conclusion of why you believe that people should buy this thing. Odds are is that the people that you're trying to attract as clients do not necessarily have those beliefs, or getting them as clients would be relatively easy. It would be kind of a slam dunk. So the first place to really start is to think about, how did you become convinced that this was something that people should buy, something people need, what have you, and how can you help other people come to that conclusion, right? So, for example, when I was talking about earlier on during this live stream, when I was asked about theory of constraints, one of the ways that I went about getting the market interested in theory of constraints was, one, I believed in it before I sold it. That's why I wanted to sell it. And two, right, I could take people through so like some of the things in Entrepreneurial Emergency are things I came across that sold me on theory of constraints. Now I was repackaging it so other people could come to that same conclusion on their own. Not sure, Rajesh, if that's the answer you were looking for. By all means, hit me up more. If you want a different answer, just give me more details. Denise, I love your thoughts on a journal I'm launching. I'm launching Combining Science and Wisdom. Since it's January and I tend to procrastinate, I need to just get it out there. So instead of doing a beta, I'm thinking of doing an introductory offer. It will be a hardcover journal, mini course, Facebook group, which lives teaching this system and how everyone is doing. And since it will take a few weeks to receive the journal, I can send email pre-work. I can then use those testimonials from this, increase the price, and run ads. I like that, Denise. I might do it a little bit differently. So let me first end this here. Excuse me. I guess I thought I got a great night's sleep last night. I don't know if it's not eating or what, or I just caught a bug of yawning. So maybe, Denise, another way to kind of go about it might be to do the first one where they get the journal at the end, and hear me out first, charge more for it. And the reason you're charging more is that you haven't finalized the journal, that you want to take a beta group through it, and based on their feedback and how they're doing, you're going to be modifying the actual hardcover journal, which they'll get a copy of at the end that everyone else is going to get, but it's based on the work that they're doing. And maybe they even get thanked, like the intro page thanks all the beta users up front, so they get to see their name in print, and it will be there as long as you sell this thing. This was actually one of those things that I was talking, like Jay was telling me that he wanted to do this program, and he was thinking about like doing it as a beta first and maybe charge more for it. And I was like, Jay, we did that. I wrote the copy. We did that for an offer for the first coaching program that you and I did together. Let me see if I can just pull that up here real quick. And he's like, we did? I'm like, yeah. And it wasn't, when I wrote that copy, it was not, I must have gotten the idea from somewhere. So it like, I got it, I'm sure, from something that you did even way before that. So let me see if I can share this now. No, that's not what I want to do. Hold on. Let me go like this and see if I can share it so I can kind of show you what copy would potentially be useful for you, or at least a type of positioning that could be useful for you. So let's see if I can pull this up. It should now. No. All right. Let's see. Can I move this? All right. There we go. Now if I go boom, 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 boom. See if I move it a little bit more. Whoa. Okay, there we go. Let me know if you guys can see that well. All right, so hopefully you can. If I move it a little bit more. Cool. Right. I'm gonna get rid of this for a second. All right, let's see. Oh, by the way, I'm just very proud of this. Look at who the last testimonial is. Fernando Cruz, the best marketer at Agora. This was the very first product he ever bought on online marketing. This is back in 2003, 2002, 2003. Anyway, the reason I pulled this up though, and this was like probably the last piece of copy I wrote in entirety. Okay. Where is it here? Okay, yeah. So here it is. And so this is where I'm going with this, Denise, right? This is a really special opportunity because I only do a pilot program once. Over time, I create a new program. The first time is a pilot where I over-engineer, meaning I give you more of my time, give you more support material, more focus, more insights. Ultimately, I give you a lot more of my personal attention. Once I perfect it, I automatically raise the price by 500% to 1,000%, and I bring in mostly associates to do most of the day-to-day. So this is truly a one-time only double opportunity. Get me personally for 26 enriching weeks. Get it for about 1/5 the price that I'll be charging the next group I work with. The pilot program is really a hybrid between mentoring, consulting, and hands-on restructuring of your entire online business. Blah, 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 right? And so, like, I tried to position, and, you know, this is marketing, right? Like, why is this version better than everything else? And then later on, why is that version better? So, the beginning, it's like you're going to be personally altering the journal based on the performance and what else they need, right? Then, based on them, once it's perfected, then you're going to roll it out. Now, you could always charge the same or less or more later on, but if you charge more up front, because you're like, it's almost like coaching, right? You're designing the journal around them. Then later on, without you being involved, you can charge less and you can talk about how others paid more for this. Or you can charge the same amount later on or charge more, right? Like after it's out of beta. But this way, positioning it not, you shouldn't be positioning it though as a negative. That's, I guess, where I'm coming from. The fact that it's a beta. Like they should be honored that it's a beta, that they're getting more of you, they're getting more of your attention, they're getting more like personalized stuff. That should help you sell more into this group as opposed to having beta be a turn off, have it be a turn on. Hopefully that helps, Denise. Let me know also, like I can't believe we're an hour and a half into this thing. What do you think about Q&As? I mean, look, it seems like we have a random group of people here, some people who have been on a lot of these live streams, so I would assume you know me pretty well. Some of you who have not. Answering questions is the easiest thing that I do. And it has nothing to do with the questions. It just has to do with I get out of my perfectionist head, my procrastinating head, and I just deal with the question that's in front of me, where it's if I was going to write an article on it or create a video on it, like nothing would ever come out anywhere quickly or whatever. So let me know what you guys think, especially if you've been on a lot of these live streams. Really curious, like, should I just like every month do one of these? Like, should I just interested in your thoughts about how this compares to having a topic and then going down a tangent and not even really doing that topic that much or whatnot. All right. So now let's get to Isabella. Thank you. And Isabella still ranks as my #1 fan right now, but it's always in contention. Isabella, thank you so much, Rich. That helped me a lot. I need to work on my USP. I will be working on past difficulties with my future clients and extract kind of life lessons. Their outcome would be to achieve a long-term solution dedication ideal, believe in order to be unstoppable for any upcoming obstacle. I've not worked it out more in detail yet. Gotcha. Okay, well, you can always be general and then use the clients that you do get. If you have some idea that you're going to be able to get some initial clients of like, why now? Why were they reaching out now? Why did they get coaching before? Like, what specifically are they working on? Like those kinds of things to help open up, like, your ideas about it. And then it's just a question of like, well, I don't want to send you down any blind alleys. But I'm probably going to anyway, and I apologize if this does. So take this with a caveat that if you go down this alley and you start spending too much time, hit eject. If you're going to be working with people, maybe you're very intuitive. We've never met, so I don't know. I'm pretty intuitive, but not intuitive enough that in general, I like to take my clients through some kind of personality or some kind of like test that like gives me greater clarity about where they're coming from, who they are, right? Personally, I'm not an expert in this area. So yes, I was trained as a consultant for Colby, and I certainly have a lot of respect and admiration for that test. And I think it does tell you quite a bit about your cognitive style, your MO, how you deal with stress, etc. But personally, I'm a bigger fan of the Enneagram because I think it's not really so much about your personality, although it kind of is. It's more about your worldview and what you feel like you're lacking, and that drives a lot of your behavior. What I like about the Enneagram that's different from most of the tests that I've taken, and I've taken almost all of them, is that what the Enneagram does is give you greater clarity about like when you're on the wrong path and when you're on the right path based on like how you scored. And I find it to be, for me at least, the most accurate of all the things I've taken, and also the most useful. So I'm a 4 as an Enneagram, a 4/, and I'm rare in the sense that I kind of have equal wings, which is pretty rare. Generally, one wing is much more pronounced than the other. But I've 4/3 and I'm a 4/5. And if you know me, that makes total sense because the 3 wants to be in the limelight. The 5 is a total like introvert bookworm. I'm somewhere in between, but I'm a 4, right? A 4 is highly emotional and too attached to their feelings. And when I read that, it might not appear on the surface that that's me, but that is me. And that, like, if there was a mantra for a 4, and I'm just kind of making this up, so don't like, this isn't like the truth with the Enneagram. If there was a mantra for 4s, I am how I feel, right? Versus like the mantra for a 1 is I am what I do. Neither one of those are great, right? But for a 4, when I'm at my best, I'm trending towards 1. So for me, it's really important that I don't let my feelings interfere with my work. That for me, it's more important for me to do even when I don't feel like doing because like I'm too attached to my feelings, right? But that's me. So my point bringing all this up, though, is that knowing these kinds of things about clients you're coaching are useful, but none of these things are going to be the thing that helps you be like build a business around this, right? At the end of the day, the coaches that make the most money are the best at selling coaching, period. That's what distinguishes someone who makes, nothing and someone who makes a lot. Whether they hold on to their customers, whether they have a great reputation, and all those things is going to be based on what they deliver, right? But it's the person that knows how to market coaching the best that makes the most, not the best coach. And I think I'm a really good coach. I definitely would never even put my name in the top 50 coaches, right, in the world. I'm sure there are tons of people who are better coaches than me. At a time, I was the highest paid business coach, right? And that had a lot more to do with my marketing chops than it did with my coaching chops. Even though I think I'm a good coach, I'm an even better marketer. So understand that like you have these two roles, Isabella. You got to get good at the practice. But as you're getting good at the practice, there should be this underlying thought behind it all of how do I market this, right? Like when I used to go to the National Guild of Hypnotists, like the hypnosis convention, right? Hypnotists would be consistently wanting to learn more tactics, more different ways of hypnotizing, more scripts to deal with different issues and stuff like that. And I was interested just like they were too. But because I'm a business person at the end of the day, an entrepreneur, I was very clear that as I'm learning these things, I should equally be like, which of these is easiest to market? Which of these like is clear to me, like based on what I'm being told, what I'm being taught, like where there might be a hook, right? So it's like even when I was learning theory of constraints, I was learning theory of constraints, but I still had my marketer's hat on, like looking for examples, ways of describing things that I could incorporate and leverage um, to maximize my growth. Okay, related to your saying about listening to Jay Abraham stuff on high speed on the background, can you elaborate on this a little bit more? Do you really feel like you absorbed the information? Well, okay, so I I went through all the material first, right? Well, not first, but I definitely have got like all the material of Jay's. Now, I'm not saying I've gone through all of Jay's material for the last 40 years or whatever. But I went through almost all, and I went through most of it, and I definitely listened or watched or read most of it, like with my attention focused on it. But then I would also just have it play in the background, high speed all the time. If I'm going for a walk, I'm doing like just in the background. And so it was that repetition, right? Over and over again, hearing him talk in threes, right? And all these things, like, when I wrote that copy I was showing you, I think people would be hard pressed if you knew Jay to know whether this was written by Jay. You would think it was written by Jay because I think I copied his voice really well. That's partly because I listened to him so much. So, you know, I believe that you benefit from even stuff in the background, not anywhere near as much as like focused kind of focused study, right? But this is in addition to. And when we're talking about addition to, I just feel like repetition is the mother of skill. And the more times you can be reminded of something, the better off you're going to be. And so that's kind of where I'm at with that. Hopefully that helps. Jersey Strong, Steve Brownstein in the house. Good to see you, Steven. Darren, Rich, do you have an index for Steal Our Winters? It would help a lot. I just signed up for a lifetime subscription before you came to your senses. Awesome deal. Thank you. Oh, no, I have an index. At some point, like, I got to clean it up. But welcome as a lifetime. As a lifetime, you're the only people that get all the archives. Yeah, definitely going to be doing something on that, and we should have one. And if you don't see it happen, let's say in the next month, which I'm not so certain it's going to happen in the next month, if you remind me on another live stream, it will happen. I think we should, and definitely should have that. So yes, we should. And Yeah, like the goal is ultimately for that lifetime subscription to get more and more expensive over time. But right now, it's still, it was a ridiculous deal. It's still a great deal. Rajesh. Hi, Denise. Don't worry, I have the same issue or challenge. My advice is start now and worry about getting perfect later. I spent the majority of last year when I lost my local sales job during the March during the lockdown here in UK. Also, I wasn't furloughed. Personally procrastinating whether I should launch my new startup business or not. I am now in pre-launch stage. It will finally be launched by the end of the month. Totally agree. You know, uh, there should be, and maybe this is, no one's asked, but I'll tell you. I think there really should be a ratio of at least 1 to 1, and even that's not healthy, of input to output. It really should be for every hour of input, 2 hours of output. Most learning, most everything is like done when you're actually in action. And so it's kind of like driving a car late at night. You only need to see 3 feet in front of you to drive the next 2 feet. And when you get 2 feet ahead, you'll see another 3 feet. So you only need to know at any given moment, you only need to know what the next step is. You have a trajectory, you know where you ultimately want to end up or have some idea of that. And then you move in that direction. In fact, something I've taught, not as extensively in BGS as I would like, because I've taught it elsewhere, is strategy as an emergent process. That I think that strategy a long time ago moved from a plan and execute kind of way of doing things to a sense and respond to a preempt and dominate kind of thing. So what I mean by that is that strategy is dictated by the environment. The environment is now much more unstable than it's ever been. Change is happening at an accelerated rate, which means that a plan that was done earlier has a higher tendency to not be the best plan or the best way of operating later, just because, like, a year on the internet time might be 50 years in the industrial age prior. Which means that, like, you constantly have to be on alert for where to kind of reemerge, like kind of what your GPS does in the background. And so you will know what the next step is when you take the previous step better than you ever will by kind of laying stuff out. And that's in online business. Like, there's no point in thinking about back ends until you can get a customer. And if the back end sale is going to be the first sale, then what step needs to come before that? If you're just starting an online business, but you anticipate that you're going to have a lead gen page or a name capture page or, an opt-in page, you could start with that. You could send traffic to that and then always send that traffic somewhere else and monetize but until you have that first page done, nothing else really matters anyway. So I totally agree with everything that Rajesh just shared. I would only even add to it. Hey, Rich, what is your journaling process and what do you recommend as far as getting the habit of journaling started? Lastly, why do you journal? Okay, so I'll start with the last one. Why do I journal? I started journaling, I believe, I don't believe I have them, back in 1994. And I'm not sure exactly why I started. I think maybe, as much as it pains me to say this, might have picked it up because of something like, I think Tony Robbins talked about a success journal, and I thought that would be a cool idea. It obviously morphed into something much more than that for me, but probably that's why it started. Why I continue to this day is many reasons. One, if I just had to say what's the most important reason why I keep a journal, my memory totally sucks about my life. I can remember what I read in a book, but I can't even remember, if I hadn't told Kim earlier today that it's been since Sunday morning since I've eaten, I wouldn't even know. And it did, I don't know if it's an ADD thing or if it's just the way we all are, but I know for me personally, I can very much go on autopilot and go on autopilot to an extent that I could look back at a month and be like, what the hell did I get done this month? I am so not wanting that to happen in my life that keeping a journal kind of keeps me grounded and keeps like one foot in what's going on. That's first and foremost, probably. That would probably be the most important reason. A quick second would be, I believe that our own experiences are, each and every one of us, our best teachers. And so if you don't keep a journal, I don't know how you really capture your experiences. There's also a lot of sentimental value. Like I have the notes that my daughters wrote the Tooth Fairy in here. Like not this one, obviously. They're a little bit old for that now, but in old ones. I have the journal entry when I met my girlfriend Kim 10 years ago. I have the journal entry when I was considering getting married 20 plus years ago. So I have all that, right? I have the first time I met Todd Brown in my journal. I have the first time I coached Ryan Dice in my journal. So all of that's there. And to me, like, it gives me great pleasure to be able to reflect on those and also pull what I've learned from those times. In addition, this is where I capture some of my best ideas. And then, like right now, where I really wanted to get clear on certain things about myself, I went through the 20 plus years of my journals and took pictures of certain pages where I was reflecting on that thing over the last 20 some odd years, so that I could actually get a very clear picture of not just what I think today, but what I thought all throughout the last 20 years on this thing. That has immense value to me. In addition to that, right, like, you know, I, I, to the back to the previous point about experience being your best teacher, like the fact that like now it's in my journal, it's probably in my journal in past things as well, as far as very important when I start my day to start with something immediately putting me into action, that I shouldn't start the workday with anything that could go sideways as the first project, right? Like these things are in this journal, which means that there's a stronger chance that it eventually makes it into Evernote or it makes it into my rules of how to live that I review frequently. So it's the only way that I really know myself as well as I do. And I think that also, though, Enneagram 4 is very, very, very interested in their own internal experience. It's one of the things that actually can be a problem for 4 by spending too much time on their own internal experience. So probably it comes easier to me than to most. But that's why I started and that's why I do. And I have no rules though. In the beginning, I made it a point to write every day, stuff like that. Nowadays, there are no rules. I can easily go a day or two without writing in it. There's no, like, I don't have to force myself to do it. It's something I enjoy doing. Right now, I'm doing more of it because I'm working on myself. And whenever I'm working on myself, I tend to write more because I want to kind of unpack things. It's also where I spend a lot of time thinking. As I'm thinking about BGS, I am constantly writing in here about different thoughts I have, like about BGS. Like I wrote this idea the other day. I think it was a BGS idea. Let's see. I know I made some underlines. Oh no, the one I shared earlier, like about every item on your task list, like the ultimate outcome, the role that should be responsible for it, how this could be done without you. You know, yeah. So there, having that history is incredibly valuable to me. The sentimental stuff, the learning stuff, the experience stuff, and just what I'm grateful for, etc. I am not by any stretch of the imagination, Evalio, an Enneagram expert, but check out some of the stuff, like type in Enneagram type 5 file type :PDF, see what comes up. Maybe you'll be fortunate and find some comprehensive stuff on it, and see if it resonates, right? That's first and foremost to make sure that you're characterized correctly. I can tell you though that the like, well, I don't know if you guys will be able to see it. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you can't really see it, but this side is all Enneagram, and that's from December 30th, right? And and I was writing about certain things I found about fours, right? The whole like idea of like the mantra thing, that a four is I am what I feel versus a one is I am what I do, like is written in here. And you know what my biggest struggle is, what my focus is on, what I want, right? What my primary emotion, that's all stuff from there. Check it out. Be glad to discuss it more as you look at it more, but I'm not an expert by any stretch. Hey, Value, great question. And why use them right in your journal? The short answer is if you keep it in your head, you will procrastinate and delay. I've used them written in my journal for the last 5 years since my very first coach and mentor personally requested me to do. I highly recommend you buy and start your journal. You will be very glad you did. I totally agree with Rich, 100% in the process. Yeah. It's, I would be nowhere near as good as I am in the things I'm good at without my journal. I'd probably be much more of a mess mentally. Um, uh, if I didn't have my journal, a lot of insights about like the mistakes I've made, how I can do better, the things I did well that I want to do more of, all these kinds of things like come to my journal. And for me, at different times in my life, I've had different rules. Like when I early on, I guess one of my rules was I was going to write my journal every day, right? When I was trying to get the habit, and then that was just about I'm just going to open the journal every day and write something. And some of my best entries were times where I was like, I really don't feel like I have anything to say today. And then lo and behold, like all of a sudden something would come pouring out. Nowadays, right now, because like I am going through, like, I want to really like get everything going the right way. I want to gain more momentum. I'm actually doing morning pages every day, like Julia Cameron's thing. That's 3 pages in the morning. So now I'm like writing to a point. I want to write 3 pages, not just crack it open and stuff. But in general, I don't have any rule, and I will write as I write. And want to get back more into rating certain things in my life, which I used to do. I do from time to time, and I'll begin doing again. Right now, though, it's like what is going to what needs to happen today in order for it to be a successful day when my head hits the pillow, and then at the end of the day, if like evaluating my performance and how can I make it better the next day? Where did things go off track today? And if it went off track today, what deviations can be made? Many entrepreneurs and leaders use and write down in their personal journal. Yeah. I mean, my journal is more my life. It's not just a personal journal. I write about business in there. I write about my kids. I write about my own personal feelings about stuff. Everything and anything is in there. Hey, Rich, thanks for being in my head is definitely a theme for me, and I've recently started practicing being more present, so I definitely see your point. Thanks again. Evelio, I'd be really interested in like seeing like what you think about the Enneagram based on that. Kevin Daly. Hey, Kevin. Absolutely appreciate all this value you've been consistently providing us since the fall. May I ask your thinking in doing so many lives? Sure. Well, so one, I enjoy doing them. So if it's enjoyable for me, it becomes easy for me, right? 2, answering questions is easy for me, so this is even better, right? But I also think that well, okay, so let me give you the personal reasons first. So one, I enjoy it, it's easy for me, stuff like that, right? Then the other thing is I know that I can build this out into something, although like I haven't really focused on it that much. I'm an introvert. And my time at Agora, when I was going up to Baltimore all the time, were some of the best times that I had. I mean, I got to become friends with a lot of great people, like, Pete Coyne, Katie, Evaldo, Matt, Matt Risby, Matt Inslee, so many good people, Lydia England, so many people, right? And I miss that interaction. And so, especially during the days of COVID, having a place where I can just talk to a bunch of people actually is really not only nice, it's actually quite necessary for me, because I'd be spending too much time internally. I don't have as many friends as I'd like to have, especially non-business related friends. And so this is almost an outlet for me. On the business side, though, what I can tell you is that, we've boosted some of these early on where we got millions of views and stuff. The audience for the people that have attended these live streams convert into Steal Our Winners buyers at a ridiculously higher rate. So there's that. Um, it gets it gives me a chance on a business side also to display that I'm the real deal. Like, you can't do this kind of stuff just answering questions if you really don't know what the hell you're talking about. So it's a way to separate myself from all the fake gurus out there. It's a way to reestablish myself with all the people who've heard my name but didn't know who I was. And, fortunately for me, all of the bigger people in the industry know who I am, but most of the new people who've joined in the last couple of years don't. So that's useful. And it's just, I like live video personally. It's just like, it's super easy for me as opposed to everything else. So there's that. And also it puts me in touch with the market, lets me know what you guys are concerned about, what you guys are thinking. And long term, though, I see this evolving into more of a show where I have certain segments where we do an insanely great job in repurposing this stuff, where it's cut up, where I'm doing stuff specifically so that it's cut up, but it will also be more entertaining for you guys. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I definitely, it was this or a podcast or recording videos and putting them up to YouTube. And this to me is the easiest and I enjoy it. So right now, that's why I'm doing it. Not just because I enjoy it, but for those other reasons too, but because it's the easiest, because I enjoy it, it's tended to stick. And in general, I'll do anything for a period of time, but I got to really see the long-term value or believe that there's long-term value in keeping up with it. And this has been something that's been so easy to keep up with. Yeah, it's just been a pleasure. All right. I have a question. How do you deal with posting consistently on social media? How do you get engagement? For me personally, posting consistently on social media every day has been mentally draining and exhausting. Any feedback or shuffling would be appreciated. Well, I don't post to social media every day, not at all. And I don't go to social media every day. In fact, I haven't been on Facebook in a few days, other than to post this. And well, I don't to post it. I don't even have to go there, but to share it like 10 minutes before this thing went live, I did. Yeah, I mean, for my own personal mental health, I don't feel like being on any of these social media platforms is a good thing. So I don't. And, when it comes to like the postings in the Facebook group, we have an assistant that puts those questions in there. And I think, you know, I've said this before, Rajesh. I don't think you've been here, but I don't think enough people make enough time for greatness. I think it's instead of trying to be everywhere with everything, it's better to create something epic and then put it everywhere so that the likelihood of someone stumbling onto something of yours that's great is much higher. So my success has really been driven by a few pieces of great content that went insanely viral. And because of that, my life has been completely altered. And I just don't think like that's doable. It's kind of, this is the way I've always thought about it, Rajesh. And actually, I'm glad you asked me this because I don't think most of you would have ever heard anything like this. And I actually wrote a report on this. Then I never released it for reasons that won't go into right now. Anyway, in the old days, there was like, you could think about fishing for customers as like, there was like 3 different oceans, 2 different baits, and that was kind of it, right? Like there were banner ads, there was Overture, there was no Google AdWords, there was none, like, there was no Facebook, there was no Twitter, there was no YouTube, none of this stuff, right? So there were oceans. The oceans were a lot smaller then than today, right? But all the prospects were in a few places, and that was it. Nowadays, right? It's like there are millions of puddles spread out online, right? And so and God knows how much bait. if you and all the tools in the world so that you can repurpose and do all these things and spend all your time on audio and video and stuff like that. And I think it's a big waste of time. I think that at the end of the day, if you're going to try and be in all those puddles, right, you want to put something epic in those puddles. And it's better to create one thing, repurpose it in as many different mediums as possible, and get it out there. When I come across something really good, and maybe I'm unique in this way, but if I come across a good article or blog post, I will go and then look at other things that person has written. Right? Something like, anytime I start reading a blog post before I end up saving it into Evernote, because I'll read like the first paragraph or two. If I'm reading it and I'm like, oh, wow, this looks really good, and I'll scroll down and just kind of skim it fast, I'm like, this is good. I will save it into Evernote, but then I'll start looking at the website because this might be a new source for me. Most things I'm not impressed by. So that's why when I am impressed by something, I generally reach out to people. I want to talk to them, whatever. But I also want to read their stuff or watch their stuff or what have you. So my thought is, don't feel the need to be on social media all the time. Be there less, but put something great there. If you need to have a presence there, maybe have a VA post on your behalf. Because spending a lot of time on all these platforms is not going to drive your business forward at the end of the day as much as spending that time on deep work and creating something great. And I also just don't think it's healthy mentally I think too many people are well, I'm not saying anything new, right? They're too absorbed by it. But I really believe there's been a breakdown in society. Maybe once again I'm unique, but most of the issues that I come across that are problems for me, I tend to project out to the world. And look, I think people are less responsive today than they've ever been before, even friends, right? And if it wasn't such a pet peeve of mine, not to have a friend not get back to me, maybe I wouldn't notice, but I do. And I'll send a second follow-up like a week later, like echo arrow up. And if I don't hear back nowadays, I kind of just okay, well, I'm just going to wait for that person to get back to me. That never happened in the past. And I just believe people are too scattered. And when you're that scattered, getting back to friends and colleagues, then you're certainly that you're scattered when it comes to your work. And so I just think it's mentally it's unhealthy, and I don't need any help on that front. So I'm somewhat guarded to not allow any of big tech to control me too much. Email replies. I've been toying with the idea of creating opt-in pages that have the prospect send an email to opt in with an auto reply to give the access to the lead magnet, all scripted and automated, easy for the prospect. They just have to click send. Yeah, that's been done before. Don't know if that works better these days or not. I would assume it wouldn't, just because most people are not used to that. But definitely something to experiment with, and it could work better. I dislike typing on my phone. Well, you also have the automated, don't you? Just your email address should be saved, but yeah, I hear you. What is the right amount and quality of content to give my audience for free? How to choose what to give for free and what to pay? Mateo, enough so that the itch is not enough so that there's value and potentially people might even share it, but not enough where the itch has been fully scratched. So what I would say, Mateo, and I don't know, I've not seen you on any of these live streams, so I only say that because maybe you're not familiar with my stuff or not. So let's say you're not familiar with my stuff. So when I released the Internet Business Manifesto back in 2006, right, people were blown away by what I gave away for free, but you can, if you read it with fresh eyes, what you'll see is that there was nothing that I gave away in there that took away the need for to buy. If anything, it just intensified people's desire to buy. On the flip side, though, the Maven Matrix Manifesto that Jay Abraham and I wrote together, we gave away too much information. We scratched the itch. So That was too. That's the only report though where I gave away too much content where it actually interfered, and it was not. It's not a question of the content per se. It's really more of a question of like, have you diminished the desire that is deep down because like people can now kind of back into status quo. Well, I'll go through this first, and I won't make any changes yet. Blah blah blah. So it's not. You have to give people really good stuff, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're not giving great stuff in your free content, then the only people who are going to be sold by your free content are idiots, and it's never good to build a business on a house of idiots. So you have to provide value that where you're giving people a chance to one, get to know you, bond with you, like you, two, understand your perspective, hopefully adjust their perspective so they're more in line with the perspective they need in order to buy. Matteo and I, once again, I talk about this a lot because at the end of the day, everything I've ever sold well online was something that my marketplace did not think they needed it until I created some demand for it by tapping into people's desires. So this is my wheelhouse. And thinking about giving away too much is really, it's not a question of how much content. It's really much more of like, is the content increasing the urge to scratch, or is it itching the scratch and therefore removing some of the desire to buy? There's certain information that people will extremely value, but only makes it more likely that they buy. There's other information that people will value that will make them less likely to buy. And without knowing what market or niche you're in, that is all I can say. Wow, guys. So these 2 hours went crazy fast. It looks like I've got a lot more questions. So I will go through all those questions because fortunately it keeps all the comments. And I wish I had time today to go through and just keep going, but I don't. I actually have to. I have a call. I have some calls that I have to hop on. But let me know as we all say goodbye to one another what you thought of these. Should I do them more frequently? Should I do Q&As more frequently? Because you know, it's actually even easier for me. So that's, you know, that's cool. And, you know, I try and do my best to answer your questions. Obviously, if you're coaching clients, I would go a lot deeper, but I'm hoping that you guys are getting value from my answers. As I always say, and I really mean it from the bottom of my heart, like I really appreciate each and every one of you being here. Like I said, I'm doing these not only for business purposes, but it gives me an outlet. It gives me a chance to connect with people. That's why I remember a lot of the avatars, and I remember like who's been on and who hasn't, because you're part of my world with this. And so I feel very fortunate that I can open up Facebook and have you guys show up and participate with me. And hopefully I'm delivering value back to you guys for participating. But if you shared, thank you so much. That really makes me doing these makes it worthwhile. If you commented and emoted, thank you as well. That means a lot to me as well. But first and foremost, I just appreciate you being here and participating, because it makes my job so much more enjoyable, and I really appreciate it. And I really want these to be as valuable for you guys as possible. So I am flexible and willing to do almost anything. The only thing I can't do is go too far down the road of making it too coach-like, so that I don't end up totally removing the urge to scratch, right? Like from my coaching program. But other than that, you know, I'm an open book. And so thank you all. And I look forward to talking to everyone on Thursday. I am going to, I will review all the comments, and thank you so much. So I see lots of comments coming in. So I like that too. So thanks. I would throw some of them on, but I think I'd be keeping you guys too long. So to higher profits and beyond, I will see everyone Thursday. And if you're not a Steal Our Winners member, check it out, strategicprofits.com/rich. And if you're not a member of our free Facebook group, a lot of stuff that I charge for outside of that Facebook group is free inside that Facebook group, and it's free to be joined. So why not join? So till Thursday, Higher Profits Beyond, Rich Sheffrin, over and out.